Okay, so for Evanescia, we've already gone over SW9's updated investment guide. Now we're going to be talking about Evanescia, and this is a character I'm seeing a lot of Doom posting on, that she is absolutely cooked and washed. But when it comes to the damage comparison videos I did for both characters, in the Evanescia video, I talked about how, in terms of vertical investment, how much you're going to get out of the character, I do think Evanescia actually edges out SW9's. But before we talk about the Eidolons, we got to first talk about what has essentially changed of her kit, and any additional information you may need when it comes to investment strategies for Evanescia, if you want to main her or if you want to get dupes and whatever for her. So essentially what has changed, if we go back over here, is her damage numbers have dropped slightly, but I do think with the frequency of which the follow-up attacks are going to be occurring, I think is better, and that's going to help her overall damage. And you might see a less big number. The overall damage she does, I do think, is going to be very, very good, and actually better than E0. So she still functions on the same premise, though, that she wants high crit damage because that helps boost the amount of elation she's going to have, and she wants certified banger, right? Again, helping her overall damage. So in terms of sets, how exactly should you be prioritizing this stuff? Well, the overall best relic set is very much like SW9's. You want the ever glorious magical girl. It's going to boost the crit damage, so because of that, that means more elation that she is going to have. And at 4 pieces, it states that the elation damage dealt by the wearer and their memo sprite, or summon in this case, because of the fox that Evanescia has, it's going to be ignoring 10% of the enemy's defense. And for every 5 punchline you get, it's going to boost the elation damage dealt, increasing by 1% of the target's defense, maxing up to 10 times. So you're looking at 20% of ignoring the enemy's defense with your elation. And how exactly does she get the punchline? Where does all that come into effect? Well, her skill, she gains 10 punchline right there, so that is going to enable the maximum capability of ever glorious magical girl. So that's very good. It's a very, very easy set to use on her because you want crit damage, boom, easy. And then the elation damage bonus is very good. You need 5 punchline, well, boom, you can get 10 right there. So you're already looking at an additional 2% on top of the 10% that it initially gives, so you can get to that 20% a lot easier. For ornament sets, it's very much like SW9's. You want to be running the Punk Lord Stage 0. It's going to boost the elation, which is good. The elation, once it reaches 40 or 80% for the first time in combat, it's going to increase the wearer's crit damage by 20% or 32%. This is a little more logical when it comes to Evanescia compared to SW9's, because of the fact that Evanescia, the more crit damage she has, it's going to snowball and increase the amount of elation she has. So getting to these breakpoints is going to be a lot easier for Evanescia and compared to SW9's. Now, moving over to the light cones, I said this before, that the crit damage is going to be reduced because they don't want it so high at S1, right? I don't know why that's not showing, but it's going to be lower than even these 2 numbers we see right here. And it's good, the elation skill is going to increase damage received by the enemy targets a little bit less. So what are some alternatives when it comes to light cones for Evanescia? What are some key factors that we need to keep into account? Well, having speed on a DPS character is nice, but she doesn't scale off of speed. She scales off of her elation, and she scales off of her crit damage. So moving over to the elation light cones, a 4-star option is the Mushy Shrooms Adventure, boosting elation by 12%. And when you use the elation skill, it's going to increase the damage taken by the enemies the elation damage by 6% for 2 turns. So that's an option you can use. But what is something that's going to be providing crit damage outside of her own individual light cone? Well, you could use Sparksy's light cone. It does give 48% at S1, but outside of that, you're not going to have any other benefits when it comes to the Sparksy light cone, because you need to be consuming more than one skill point in one instance. So Evanescia is not going to really focus on that. The Herder Shop light cone, you are going to be getting an attack increase. Yeah, that could possibly help Evanescia, but it's not really suiting her pure needs for that. So we're still down to one 5-star alternative, which that's all there is at this current point, because Yao Guang's is going to be boosting speed. Again, Evanescia doesn't really necessarily want that, and then it's also going to be stating that it's going to be providing increase to crit rate and crit damage to the teammates, which that sounds good, but you need to use your ultimate on an ally, which Evanescia doesn't do that. So tomorrow together, how is this going to function? Well, we're going to have a crit damage increase. That's very good. After the wearer uses their ultimate, it's going to increase the elation of all allies by 8% for 1 turn. So this is somewhat decent because of the fact that it's going to be boosting crit damage, and we'll go to S5 because this is a battle pass light cone, if I remember correctly. No, it's not. Don't take my word for that. S5, 24% crit damage increase. Very good. Evanescia wants that. It's going to help boost her own elation damage and overall damage. Very good. Now, increases the elation of all allies by 12%. So providing some, supporting capabilities for like a Yao Guang and elation MC is very good. So that's that. That's your alternative. I mean, completely honest, which is really bad. In terms of light cone options, it's really dark and grim, I will have to say, for Evanescia, and compared to SW9s. SW9s, you have a little bit more options. But outside of your signature light cone, you're just looking at Sparksy, and then you're looking at Tomorrow Together, and then possibly Mushy Shroomi's Adventures to boost your relation damage. Now, when it comes to Eidolons, and this is where I'm saying I do think Evanescia has better vertical investment strategies when it comes to Eidolons than SW9s. E1, 36% crit damage increase. Stop right there. That's freaking amazing for what she does. And after the Master Fox uses an attack, triggers 1 additional elation skill. Boom. Elation skill grants this unit 10 additional certified banger. Okay, that's 3 instances of very good. You get the crit damage bonus. You get additional instance of the elation skill, and you get 10 certified banger. That's incredible. E2, all type res pen increased by 20%. Very good. And for any teammates whose participation ID in the AHA instance is lower than Evanescia's, gain certified banger, or when teammates certified banger ends, Evanescia additionally gains 50% of her own certified banger. So you're further boosting your own damage. That's incredible. Both E1 E2 further increasing damage, which is awesome. E4, Evanescia's damage ignores 15% of the enemy target's defense. So you pair this up with the relic set, which will allow the elation damage to ignore 20%. You're looking at possibly 35% to ignore the enemy's defense, which is incredible. And then at E6, the duration of Evanescia's certified banger increases by 1 turn. Elation damage dealt by Evanescia Merrymakers is going to be increased by 15%. And for every 10 points or 100 points the certified banger possess, an additional Merrymakers increase by 2%. Essentially, that's just like the AHA instance. When a maximum of 1,000 points of certified banger taken into account after using the ultimate for the first time upon entering combat, Evanescia regenerates 120 energy. This effect can trigger 1 time for every 4 ults used. E6 just makes, honestly, I think E6 probably isn't the way to go. E4 you can honestly stop, whereas SW9, as I said, E2 is probably the best stopping point. E4 for Evanescia is incredible. You get the crit damage bonus at E1. You get an additional elation skill. Elation skill gives you 10 certified banger. E2 you get all type res pen, and you also get 50% of your own certified banger whenever an ally who's participating ID gains certified banger. or when the certified banger ends. And at E4, you're just ignoring 15% of the enemy's defense. So yeah, Evanescia vertical investment strategy, I would say, is you, unfortunately, more so than in SW9s, you need to get her Lycon, the exact same relic set and ornament set, very easy. E2 is a very good stopping point, but if you want that little bit of extra damage, then get E4.